I told you I'd be back, wouldn't I? And like I said, I'm gonna have a lot of material for the next couple of days or so, depending on how often I can make these videos. And it is still Christmas as of both this recording and this uploading, hopefully. So, what better way to celebrate the holiday spirit than Star Wars? It did have a holiday special, but even people who don't like Last Jedi refuse to talk about that to an extent. um, yes, what we have here are several Star Wars figure lines. Starting in the back is another exclusive to Kohl's I picked up, much like my Jurassic World that I did last video. This was slightly cheaper, especially considering that, much like with the Jurassic World set, it was on sale, probably because it has less figures. Although, like I said, these hero Titan heroes, as they used to be called, now they're just called whatever, tend to be sold for $10 each. So even going by the sticker price, this was probably like 4 figures for the price of 2. Let's say Luke Skywalker, a Jedi Master just during the Battle of Endor test started. So the text blurb on the back here basically is summing up the plot of Return of the Jedi, which, although it doesn't specify on the box, this set is what it is based off of. Because we have Luke in his Return of the Jedi outfit with the new lightsaber he was given for that film. Yoda has this sort of glowing effect on him, which is a callback to his death in Return of the Jedi. The only figures that probably weren't altered that much were Vader and the Stormtrooper, but then again, those guys, they didn't really change much throughout most of the films. They didn't really change until the new films in the prequel trilogy and then later the sequel trilogy. We started getting variants, which I will go into in a second. Oh, hey, easy. Also, I modified. Also, hold on. Just a quick note. I actually modified this Kylo figure here to make it more like how he appears in Rise of Skywalker with the cape. It's actually a cape from another figure that I had lying around and some spare ribbon. My own nifty little touch on these. Alright, so let's get these guys off them. They're on here pretty tight, but thankfully there doesn't seem to be strings holding anything in. So I don't have to worry about cutting these strings. Oh darn. So yeah, the Titan series are pretty much any figure in the 10-inch line. Tends to be... Basically, these are the original 3.75-inch figures, only they've been blown up to a much greater size. Because Star Wars figures were probably the very first action figures to be only 3.75 inches tall with 4 points of articulation at the arms, legs, and usually the head. It's a little tight, but... And as I said, this is basically Luke and Vader from... as they appeared in Return of the Jedi. Got Luke's green saber. Return of the Jedi probably had, before the prequels, the most intense lightsaber battle in Star Wars. It's always been a feature of the series, but like Return of the Jedi was the one that had the budget where they could just really. The only thing it lacked was the flipping and acrobatics and more martial arts-esque choreography of the later films. But that's because that wasn't that kind of fighting wasn't popular in the mainstream yet. At the time, it was still more like, say, the sword fighting scene in sword and sorcery films. And over here we have Yoda. No lightsaber because he didn't have one in Return of the Jedi. He was retired during that film. He's partially fading away into his Force Ghost form. He does come with his cane, though, which I'm not sure how exactly it goes. The way I'm putting it in doesn't look like it has much of a purpose as a cane. The thing is, the original Kenner figures on Yoda actually had a cloth outfit, but this is all solid plastic. It is nicely solid plastic, but still. And of course, there's the Stormtrooper, the classic version. Again, 4 points of articulation, and his blaster. Like I said before, this could actually be, until I get some other weapon, this could also be a good weapon for Owen. The marksmanship on these guys is legendary. Legendarily infamous. But, and these are all very nicely solid. They feel sturdy enough. Let's just put them in the back over there. Try to line them up. If I could just get them to stand properly. Maybe if I lower the weapon. This table is a little wobbly. Okay. There we go. Now, the Galaxy of Adventure line is a more... It's actually what I said before. It's very similar to the old 3.75-inch Kenner figures. The only difference is these tend to be a little more cartoonish, although you can't tell on the Kylo or Jet Trooper figure because they have masks. But we can see that on the Chewbacca figure over here. As you can... And that's because these figures tend to be based off of the Galaxy of Adventure shorts that you could find on YouTube, which are either animated retellings of key scenes from the franchise overall, or they're animated shorts meant to be their own little thing. So let's get these opened up and take a look, see how they hold up. That new plastic smell. So there's a lot of articulation on this Chewie figure. His feet look like they have some kind of joints in them, but they don't move much. And like I said, this is actually a lot more... Ooh, these arms are jointed. Let me see the back, does it? Ah, Wookiee Slam. They have an action feature, too. It just gives a vague on how it's performed. Do I just... I guess you just lift the arms up and then let them go. Can they snap into place, though? Because... because he has the bowcaster, which means you still need his arms to be in like a neutral position in order to hold it. But it works. Oh. Now if I can just get him to stand. Come on. There we go. So, apparently all of these figures have a action feature, which is a nice addition. Like with the Titan Hero, these were pretty cheap. Though not because they don't have as much articulation, more because that they are smaller scale. The Jet Trooper, in case you don't know, comes from the more recent Rise of Skywalker, which I haven't seen yet. Let me see if... Again, these descriptions are very vague as to how these action features are supposed to work. But Let's see if I can fit this blaster in. It's a little tricky. It feels tight. Ah, there we go. No, now it feels loose. But he's not holding it. It's kind of like it's kind of like an opposite to Chewie's Wookiee Slam. And the legs are... Yeah, the joints simultaneously feel loose and yet tight at the same time. Wrap your head around that. If you can get past the inconveniences, these are actually relatively nice figures. It feels tight, but at the same time, like the blaster just wants to fall, is gonna fall right off. So they couldn't sculpt the hands right. Come on. Alright, just leave it for now. Worry about it later, because I don't want this to get dull. You stand up, Luke. Come on. Okay, last is the Supreme Leader Kylo. I'm not sure if he had a cape cloak before in the other films, but well, they did give him one for this one. And it's removable. Again, for all of its problems, gotta love that vinyl smell. Let's see. This one doesn't have the same spring-loaded feel to it. So, yeah, otherwise it's a relatively nice Kylo Ren action figure. Only with a hood and cloak now. And despite being from a more cartoony line, it doesn't look as very cartoony. Though that is obviously because these characters have their faces hidden. I've seen Finn and Rey and other figures, and they have that look going for... Oh, what? Apparently the cape makes it so that it's hard for him to stand. I praise these figures 1 minute, and the next I'm finding problems. It's like their feet just don't want to... in the right position to stand. Okay, slight problem with these guys. Like, what? Why? Just why? Slight problem. I could get him to stand if I prop him up on Vader's saber there. Now, for what could probably be the best figure in this look, we have the Black Series Anakin Skywalker. Now, I have talked about the Black Series before when I did the review of the Boba Fett, and as I said in that video, if you get them on a card instead of a box, chances are it's a re-release under the archive line. Mainly because the original box release is out of print and out of production, so it's somewhat more rare. According to this was released in the 2014 Black Series line, so it's not that old. Roughly a year after the Boba figure I touched on. And it basically comes with 2 head sculpts, so I don't see much of the expressions. The expressions seem to change somewhat. That's about it. And while you couldn't really mess up Boba Fett, since, again, it's a masked figure, the likeness to Hayden Christensen is pretty spot on this one. Uncanny. Now, let's see if... Well, there's the accessory problem again. Although, that seems to be... maybe I could... Okay, there we go. Let's see the articulation, because these do have to get him to grip it with two hands. Okay, if I could just slide that through. And nope, it's all bent. Oh, gee. I hope that blade is detachable and I didn't just break it. As you can see. Well, aside that, this is probably the best figure on here. And it's kind of in scale, actually, to the Lotus, slightly taller. And so that's the second, our second Christmas video. And it's more Star Wars than you could probably ask for. So, Merry Christmas. Hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. And, I don't know, maybe I'll put another video out later or tomorrow, but like I said, definitely got a lot of stuff to work with.